Let me tell you one thing about the book I put together. Try not to pass through it because as we go through each page, I'm going to give you stuff about the artist and the piece so that you'll know why he did it, why he didn't do it, who bought it, all that. One thing, 10 years ago, give or take this year, next year, my cousin came to visit me who was the age I am now, 80, and he brought a book called The Lives of the Book. And he said, Eddie, I know you like history. It'll take you at least a year to read it. Because it's, and he said, you'll probably put it, boy, have I been reading through this. Anyway, and because of that priest, the McTeagues, it was their priest back in New Jersey, that he said, oh, I have a couple that's moving down there, and that's how I met the McTeagues.
Oh, wow.
So things, see how things fall into place?
Yeah, yeah.
Before I really start on the Michelangelo book, there's one thing I want to tell you about him, is that he really, really did not, he was not the kind of guy you'd want for dinner. He was self-indulged in himself, and this story will tell you what it's like.
Yeah.
He was in Florence one day, and he was walking, he was already famous now, and he's walking in the piazza, probably to look at David again. And on the other street corner is Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and a couple of Dante, and a couple of artists. And they were discussing Dante. Dante wrote the Inferno, which is the allegory on hell. And it's a poem, but it's 14,000 lines. And it's the levels of hell. You go to hell if you do this, you go to hell if you do this. You know, all the levels of hell. And when he first wrote it, the city fathers took a look at it and said, holy cow, they won't be buying, there'll be no more boozing, no more, they're not going to be buying see-through silk blouses. They told him to leave town, or they're going to burn him to stay. So he left town. Of course, then he became famous as they got, he's back in town. So he's now dead, but he is like Chaucer and St. Thomas Aquinas. I mean, I started reading it for Hinunu. I'm one level two. Kissing and that? No, not me. I'm not going to that level. But he became the very thing to talk about. Well, they were sitting on the street talking about it, and Michelangelo walks by. And I don't know who it was. It was Michelangelo. And he said, it was Da Vinci said, Michelangelo, go over and tell us, you can tell us about Dante. Michelangelo's exact words, no. Explain it yourself, horse modeler that you are, unable to cast a statue in bronze, was forced to give up an attempt in shame. He turned his back and left. He said, no, again. And Leonardo da Vinci was mortified. I mean, you just don't say this to Da Vinci. That was Michelangelo. He didn't like him. Now, Leonardo da Vinci only has 15 works of art in the world that they know of. 15. What did I think? Michelangelo did 36 sculptures. 10 paintings. Now the painting, Sistine Chapel was one painting. They did 10 of those. And they did 9 architectural achievements that were, when I tell you that, you won't believe it. But he was one smart cookie. So what I've done is I've taken some of his famous works, and I'll try to give you the story behind the story. Starting off with the first page, it's a bronze made of Michelangelo by his student, Vasari, who cast this for him while he was alive, to show you the pain that he always had. Never smiled, the pain, the broken nose, was never happy. He never thought he achieved greatness. And that's what makes a genius, I guess.
Oh, I must be a genius.
Oh, you know what? I think I'm a little bit of one. We must be two here. And Michelangelo, the story said that Michelangelo said to one time, "It would have had better in my youth had I hired myself to make sulfur matches." He didn't. He just, I make this thing. It's not perfect. Mikey, come on. The second picture is not Michelangelo, but the second picture is something I had to show you. This is the first Renaissance painting to be done by an artist using models. Before, they didn't use models, they just painted. And the other what she looks like, let me see again and then we're back. This was done by a Florentine artist, Filippo Lettorio. And he did this, he was a monk. And then he decided to get out of the monk, married a nun, and had a son who was the famous painter. And the reason I show you this painting is because I looked up, I just at random picked up, I just want to show you what how good the Renaissance was. Picked up, pass these back, this Renaissance painting before he was born. So pass those out, just take a quick look at it.
Is there a story about his nose? How he got it?
Yeah, I told you, his broken nose, I mentioned that before. When he was in school with the Medicis, before he went to school, one of the students broke it because he was jealous of him. But if you look at this painting, you see how, look at the poor hand, she looks like she has arthritis, and the head looks like it was stuck on. But that's how they painted before the Renaissance. They didn't use models. So it just gives you an idea of how great. You see how the expression of her face is, and the child's face, and the other, she's blank. And does the head not look like it's put on? You see that? Look at her hand. I mean, but I just did that to
I didn't know they had Photoshop back then.
well, and we lose another monk, just like Martin Luther. He was an Augustinian. Guess where I went to college? The Augustinians. When I went to college, Martin Luther he was never one of us. Now you're going to go, Martin Luther was the head guy. The world's changing. Okay, let's get back to the next page. This is a marble sculpting plaque that Michelangelo made when he was at the Medici's house. He was 16 years old when he carved this. Just look at the. It's not a great picture, but look at the detail of it. And he was still in school. At 16, he did this. Now, if you turn to the next page.
What's the material?
It's marble. It's all marble. If you turn to the next one, he was 17. It's the Battle of the Centaurs. This he used the Medici children as models, and he loved this piece, and it stayed with him till the day he died. Because you see how he learned to polish, and you see the figures. Look at the figures in the model. Nobody ever made anything like this. It was never for sale. It was done with the tutelage of the master that they had at the house. And, hey, Mike, that's good. Keep it up. And it's 55 by 40 centimeters. What's that in feet? I don't know.
1.5 by over 4.
Meters?
Centimeters.
Centimeters. That's right.
Okay. Turn the page, and you see the statue. of Bacchus. This, he was 21 years old and was his first commission. He made it when he was living in Rome. He moved to Rome. So it's the Medici, Medici, Lorenzo was dead. The other guy was going to be a priest. So there was a cardinal in Rome who had just gotten a gigantic villa, with all the way around with a garden in the middle. He went to gambling. He's probably St. Bingo. But anyway, the cardinal had him cut this statue to sit in the garden among his other ancient pieces of sculpture from Greece and Rome. So Michelangelo finishes it, the cardinal doesn't want it. Nah, that's not a good idea. I don't think so. So the cardinal's banker bought it and kept it for a while. And then the Medicis, a few years later, said, hey, we'll take this. This is like, so it wound up back in Florence. Now, the church went through a period, everything in those days was new. The church went through when some of the people in charge, oh God, they'll have impure thoughts they'll be making. And Bacchus is the Greek god of love, wine, and drunkenness. So, you see the cup at the top? Mm-hmm. They chipped that away. They also chipped off his penis. Because it would make drinking wine and being nude will give you impure thoughts and chaos. I mean, that's how nuts these people became. Eventually, they did recarve the cup, but never put back the penis. And this can be seen back. It's still in Rome, and it can be seen. But this was his first successful commercial piece of art. Aha. Now, you see this one? Who's this? That's David. David, he did at 26. And David was done back in Florence. And David is 17 feet tall, which is these are 10-foot ceilings. Think of what, this is a big statue. The piece that Michelangelo cut this from had sat for 40 years. They had cut a block of Carrara marble out, 20 feet tall, 18 feet tall. They didn't know what to do with it. Nobody would attempt to carve it, ever. So they gave Michelangelo a commission. They said, we're going to put some statues around the piazza. They want to crown it over the church with your doing David. We'll give you 400 or 500 gold ducats. Oh, that's a lot of money. I mean, that was $20,000, $30,000 today's money. Took him a couple of years to carve this. However, anatomically, there's some major mistakes. The head is too big. And the right arm is too big. I mean, if you're taking that right arm, but that goes onto the knee. Anatomically, it's wrong. But it was done wrong because this was to be put on the cathedral. At the top of the cathedral, which was 80, 90 feet tall. So they brought it into the piazza. They didn't have it lifted. They got it on hoists and this, and suddenly it would swing. Wait, if you do that, you're going to break the arm. So they tried for months to get this on top of the building. And they said, we just can't do it. And the reason the head is so big and the arm is so big, because once it's on the building, the optical, it'll look red. So it was made to be on top of a building. But they all knew this, and this is sometimes a lot of people, is my favorite. This is not mine, but they say this is wonderful. And it's Carrara marble. It sat outside until 1885 or something like that. And it was, birds were doing it and it was getting dirty, so they actually moved it in to the museum, and they have a phony one out there. And they had to wash it, and Carrara marble is, of all the marbles, is the most porous. So they didn't want to keep scrubbing it. But when people look at that, they don't realize anatomically it's not correct. Anybody ever know that?
Who made the copy of it that stands out in the?
I think the copy, and I wouldn't swear to this, but I think the copy could have been a cast-made mint. I mean, I don't know, or somebody could cut it. Now, let me tell you something about his. Michelangelo never, ever let anybody see him cut stone. Period. When he had students, he would help them, but nobody would see the method he used. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. People came in, he stopped working. He would not allow anybody in the studio, and because he had come up with, according to Vassi, his biographer, methods to quickly cut. He could cut stone faster than anybody. Now he didn't want, you don't give your tricks of the trade away. So nobody, and he lived to be 88 years old, nobody ever saw him cut or picked. Ever.
And these are all one piece. It's not like you carved an arm and attached it.
When Michelangelo carved anything, he carved it in one single piece. I have a piece. Where's this? I got some great notes on that. Wait a minute.
I just want to be sure.
Excuse me a minute, because that's a question. I have something. What the hell? Ah, here it is. Let me read Rep, just stop for a minute and read you some of his famous quotes. Death and love are the wings that bear the God, good man to heaven. Good painting is the kind that looks like sculptor. Lord, grant me that I may always desire more than I can accomplish. Trifles make perfection, and perfection is no trifle. Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to uncover it. Carving is easy. You just go down to the skin and stop. I love that one. A beautiful thing never gives so much pain as does failing to hear and see it. So I just wanted to, yes, he never carved anything in pieces. No, I put it together. He could cut stone. I mean, some of these pieces, this took 2 years.
Yeah.
But I think Bacchus was, it was over a year and maybe almost, I mean, that's all, you take 20 feet of rock and you're cutting out. No help. Nobody's saying, here's your hand tool. Nobody's in the room with you. Okay, you got the next one is the Bruges Madonna. Now the Bruges Madonna is a sculptor that is the only piece of art that left Italy during his lifetime. Everything he ever made. He wouldn't take a commission from anybody unless the commission fit into what he wanted to do, how he wanted to express it. If they agreed, he would do their commission. You didn't go in his shop and say, hey, I think I'll take that, or this is my wife, I know she's not too pretty, but can you make, no, I'm not going to do it. He didn't do anything he didn't want to do. But there were two wool merchants, the guilds, from Bruges, which was Flemish or Belgium. They came to see Michael and said, we want a statue for the cathedral, and we want you to do it. He said, well, tell me your idea and why you've come all this way. He said, well, this means a lot to us, and that we came all the way from just to see you. And would you consider it? So they explained to me and said, I can do it the way I want to do it. He said, yes. we went to Madonna and the Child. And it's going to be in the center place of our church. Okay, I'll do it. So he cut this, again, 2 years. And when it went to Bruges and they put it in the cathedral, oh, you look at the cross and they get you right over to this became something very important. This is what he was trying to attempt. Okay? Mary,
Is that still in Bruges?
yes, and I'll give you some more of that later. Mary, as you'll notice, is looking away, not at Christ. You see how she's looking kind of toward the left? Because Mary, Michael's interpretation of this, she knows what is going to happen because she was chosen, according to by God, to have his son who would have to die for the world. So Mary has nothing but sadness in her eyes, looking away. Now the child, as you'll notice, is not sitting in her lap. He's holding on to her hand, and he's looking down to step away. Because if you see, the right foot is off the pedestal. And he knows that he's going to have to leave Mary and what he's going to have to do. And what is going to be his life and what suffering he's going to have. Because according to legend, Jesus, that if Mary asked Jesus to do something now, he doesn't. He loved his mother dearly. But he's trying at this age, knowing I have to leave. And if that didn't come across, it's perfect. Now,
Whose interpretation is that?
that's Michelangelo's interpretation with some, not a lot, but some, what are you going to do if I give you the commission? So he never gave he never took a commission again out of it, ever. This statue has a life all its own, and you say it was in Bruges. Well, it was stolen. It was stolen in 1795 by the French. Why? The French had the revolution. Liberty, fraternity, and who's heading up the French in 1795? Not Napoleon, but the mob and the people. And they decided they liked it because they had seen it because, Belgium was not that far. They came and took it. Took it back to Paris. Kept it for 20 years. And then at the end of the reign of Napoleon, when the French Empire took it, they gave it back to Bruges. And it stayed there until 1944. And in 1944, under the command of Hitler and Gordon, they came. The war's getting over. They came in and they steal it and they take it back to Germany. So it's stolen again. They have no idea where it went, and they found it in a salt mine in Germany, and it was still there with a lot of Raphaels and Rembrandts and other famous works of art that it was Hitler put out it wasn't in the mine long, and Hitler put out what he called the Nero decree, and referring to Nero who burned Rome. He said, I want all the statues, all the paintings, all the treasures, millions upon millions of pieces destroyed. They still have not found Raphael's Portrait of a Young Man. They estimate that there are still maybe 1 million pieces or 800 that they can't account for. Now, as you all know, have you seen the movie The Monument Men? Please see that, because that's just the tip of the iceberg. I had a dealer that was near my house. My daughter wound up working for him. He was the captain and the guy in charge in Germany, in the monument, of where all the stuff came to. You know, you'd collect stuff all over Germany, all over, and you had to send it to a location. He said, you could not believe what they stole. Bells, you know, and silver. He said it was so much. And our job was to find out who it belonged to and where to get it back to. And he said the famous stuff like this we knew. Da Vinci's Lady with an Urn, they know it was his. They know where it came from. And every piece from France was cataloged by a French lady who worked in a museum, and she put a little dot on each one and say anyway. But everything else, rugs, statues, paintings, the Get altarpiece, they had no idea what stuff was. They still have things in storage that they don't know who owns them. So that's a good question. It did. Okay. The very next picture is my personal favorite, and that is the Pieta. Michelangelo was 24 when he cut this, and it was a gift to the Vatican by the French, and they wanted to have a statue cut to go in the Vatican. Now, let me get in right here. The Vatican, but this was the old St. Peter's Basilica. But the same year that he cut this, Pope Julius II, his patron, wanted to say, I'm going to do away with the old St. Peter's Basilica, which was built by Constantine, and they had money. I'm going to level it and put up the largest church in Christendom, which is the present day St. Peter, and it still is the largest Catholic church in the entire world. So Michelangelo set the carve this. To me, I've seen it twice. And I saw it about 4 years ago. I stood there at least a half an hour because I like stuff like this. I looked at this and looked at that piece and what it exhibits. Now, turn the page. You got a picture? Mm-hmm. Which one? Of just the body?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I chose the body was anatomically. Those of you that have nursing degrees, look at if that is the human form. That is truly, you couldn't have done more perfect. And the reason that it stands out with such a shine is because the way he polished. And nobody knows how he did it, but they think he used pumice and leather, which took forever to do. But no sculptor has ever been able to duplicate his polish. Oh, yeah, I'm sure he did the machines, but this was done by one man, carving it by himself and polishing it by himself. It is breathtaking to look at. If you turn the next page, I put his hands to show you that's what the hand, if you've ever seen a body, would look like at that. And the two pieces above it are part of the bottom of the statue. That's how it is before you start to polish it. I mean, it's not an easy job, you know. That rough cut on the left, that's the rough cut on the right, is how you kind of have that down, and then this rough part on the left is what you have to polish. The whole body. Go back and look at that body. That's a lot to polish. The robes and such and such. The next page is Mary. there was a big controversy about this by some of the people. Jesus was 33 years old when this was carved. Mary does not look that much older. So the populace would say, and the priest, well, she's not old enough. Michelangelo made her too young. His comment right back, you should know that women maintain their freshness longer than those that are chaste, more than those that are married. he really knew how to sing it to them. And the reason the faith is smooth, and you can't see it in this picture, is in the first times in the late 14th, 15th century, people would touch the face. But not like this, they would touch it as out of reverence. So just kind of touch the face. They had to eventually stop that. And it had been moved a number of times because St. Peter's Basilica is not built. So this had gone to a few churches in the back. And it's right as you go in the entrance. And then 15 years ago, some nut comes in with a hammer and breaks it. And they had to recarve it. Now it's behind glass. Right, next page. This is a very interesting story. This is a statue done by him called the Young Archer. It was lost for centuries. They know he carved it because he kept, remember I told you he kept a diary? So they know it's his. I mean, they don't have a double sale, but they know it was his because they could never find it. And it was found in the French embassy in New York City in 1996. It had sat there from 1910 to 1996. I mean, it just sat there. People would sit down. And nobody knew. It was a, what do you have, a broken arm? A broken arm, a quiver, just a statue. And then a historian who worked down the street in another restaurant, what's her name? Catherine Welgaris, came in one day and said, that looks familiar. So she did some research, and by golly, it's the missing Michelangelo. I mean, somebody could have bought that out of the, hey, I'll give you 10,000, oh, okay. Sat there for years. People putting hat on it, drunks leaning there, rolling up. I mean, so, when it was proven to be a Michelangelo, and it's French, America said, do us a favor. It's right here on Fifth Avenue, 1,000 yards across. Let us have it for 10 years. We'll put it in the Metropolitan. And then we'll give it back to you. Of course, you know there's been another deal on it. They're going to get something. So there's a deal. So this is in the Met now, if you want to see it. But I mean, the fact that it was missing for 480 years turns up in an embassy, in a French embassy, nothing to do with Italy. And it's if you go to New York, take a look at it. I think you've seen it, haven't you? I mean, it's not overly impressive, is it? I mean, it's broken. Now, the next page. Here's another thing that was missing. These are two. Michelangelo also casted bronze, but not a lot. But it was not one of them. He did make these two bronze men on panthers. It's in his notebook. And again, they were missing forever. About, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago, one of the Rothschilds from Europe, the bankers, Jewish family bankers, looked at their collection. And they put it for sale in Christie's. And they said, didn't say Michelangelo, they said, two Renaissance bronzes because they could tell that from the period. So did not go with the money it was worth. Then somebody went through his diary and through his notebooks years later, just recently, and there's the drawing of this.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I was by Christie's that day saying, Karen, let's sell the house on. But sometimes, if you think about it, at least for me, art has, it's like a living thing. It goes on and on if it's good.
How tall are these things?
I don't know if I I know how big they are. I do. I have it in the, I'm not going to, it's in there. But I'll tell you how, I've said my notes. See, remember I got overkill? They're about, let's see, it's a woman standing next to me. They're about that tall.
Oh, okay.
They come right here. Well, she's taller, say up to here on me,
Yeah.
over here. It's up to about my waist. Two of them, actually, in perfect condition.
So where are they now? Do you know?
In the Metropolitan.
They're also in the Metropolitan.
Wait a minute. And then they go back to the Louvre because the person that bought it at Christie's was French. So. But the Louvre, the Met has it for a while. Next picture is St. Peter's Basilica. When Pope Julius, who was the Pope when Michelangelo was running things, and who was Michelangelo's mentor, he wanted to tear down and start a new St. Peter's. He had the best architects build the church, but he told, I want Michelangelo to design the dome. I want him to design the dome. And it is one of the largest domes in the world. And the length of it is 730 feet. The width is 588 feet. And the height, the height is 488 feet. That's a big dome. And there is a staircase that goes up from around the dome to the top. 500 stairs. But in modern times, they put an elevator in where you can go up to the roof. And that's 300 stairs. And then go up inside the dome around a small staircase that kind of carves around. Last time I was in Rome, I was with my friend. I said, let's go up. And we start walking up. Realizing I'm claustrophobic. And all of a sudden, there's only one way. And it's up this way and down another one. I'm up there, I'm up there. Holy cow, it's coming. I'm panicking. So I said, what am I going to do? I got, excuse me, sicko. Nobody listened back at me, thank God. I came down those stairs like a bat out of hell. Because if I came down or somebody there, I can't get around it. So I came down and I stood on the roof, which I could see half of Rome from that. He's up there 45 minutes. Eddie, why did you? I said, are you kidding me? Look at me. My hands are kind of like this. I said, I forgot I was claustrophobic. But if you look at the inside, that's what it looks like inside. And the next picture is the very, very top where you can see it's the tallest building in Rome. I've been in half of it, but not up to that. It is absolutely breathtaking. The base of this particular dome, underground in the wall, is 60 feet to take the weight. The architect of the whole cathedral hated Michelangelo for doing this. He said, to the Pope, why can't? No, Michael will do a better job. But I'm the architect. He's the architect. You don't argue with the Pope. So, the next piece of sculpture. Next thing I have in here is the, this is the Capitoline Hill, the Piazza di Capodiglione, I think it's pronounced that way. But it was the Capitoline Hill. And it was one of the original 7 hills of Rome. And it was a mess. You had to go up a muddy hill. There was nothing on top but broken ruins. It was a filthy, crummy place. So the Pope called Michelangelo in. And it was, I think it took him 36, it took him 10 years. It took him 10 years too. He said to Michelangelo, look at the king of France is going to come and see us down the pike, some years, he said. We can't, I want Rome to be beautiful. We had the Trevi Fountain now, we had the buildings cleaned up, he said, I want you to do something with this. So he said, design a new thing for us. So Michelangelo designed the buildings, the stairs, the statue. There's a statue in the middle. Did I say that? Yes. That was, so I can't put the big ones up, so I'll put some of these up. And this I did after I finished the booklet, so. Would you hand that out in this? This is the Roman statue, the only intact Roman statue from imperial times, and it's Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor. And the only reason it has survived is because of all people who saved it for posterity. It was Constantine. There it is, the block again, right? You can see how Constantine saved this one piece, and Michelangelo used it with the center of the piazza. He carved the base himself, and then put that in the base. But if it wasn't been for Constantine, it would have been melted down for a bell or a cat.
Now, what are these other statues in?
They're just statues, but he did not carve those. So, Michelangelo is getting more work, getting more time from the Pope now, Pope Julius II. Pope Julius was the warrior pope. He was born into a great family. His uncle was Sextus IV, who built the Sistine Chapel. And he decided that he would go into the priesthood at a young age. And he went through training with the Franciscans, which are not, 14, 15. And he became ordained. He was ordained a couple of years. His uncle said, I think I'll make you a cardinal. A bishop. So at 17, he makes him a bishop. Because he never wanted to do anything with, hey, I don't want to be. He never really took the oath for the Franciscans. He took an oath to be a secular priest. So he did that for a while. Met a young lady, and things happened. So also says, I got to get him out of trouble. He's a kid, so I'll make him a bishop. A year later, at 18, he makes him a cardinal. So he was really the warrior. He was the pope that constantly had armor on. He took and increased these papal states. He was always fighting for territory, for land, not for himself, but to keep the church intact. So he decided he was going to build inside St. Peter's a freestanding tomb. And he gave Michelangelo commission. Michelangelo designed the tomb. It was freestanding and big. Probably would have been under the dome, with 40 sculptures on it. Michelangelo was probably looking at 2 to 3 decades of work, and it was real. Because Michelangelo would rather cut stone than paint or do architecture or write poetry. So he had, oh my God, this can't happen. But as the Pope got more and more involved with the church, he got less involved with this. And Michelangelo's already bought the marble. And he started, because it's going to take, he's got 40 statues. If it took him a year, that's 40 years just statues. He cut them down to 2 a year. It's going to take him 20 years just to cut the statues. So the Pope's losing interest. So the Pope decides to redo the Sistine Chapel. It's kind of dull, he thinks to redo it. So the Sistine Chapel has lovely frescoes along the wall, but the ceiling is really just a blue paint with gold stones on it. So before he talks to Michelangelo, he brings in Raphael, who's a young guy. Raphael takes a look at this. This is no easy job. You're talking, it's 130 feet long, 43 feet wide, and 68 feet tall, coffin ceiling. So he said, Holy Father, why don't you use Michelangelo? Kind of, this would be a job. Because Michelangelo doesn't like to paint. He don't want to do frescoes. He said, why don't you ask him? So he brings Mike, he said, that's a good idea. I can work with it. He brings him in, and he said, Michelangelo, I got a job for you. This is the chapel my uncle built. And I want you to paint the ceiling. No. I'm a sculptor. No, I have this idea that you can do it. And what I want is the 12 apostles painted on the ceiling. And Michelangelo, no. So the Pope takes his stab, beats Michelangelo. You cannot say no to your Pope. Okay. So he says, and here's how I want Peter, Paul, Anthony, Andrew, Bartholomew, and then off these. And he tells Michelangelo, well, I ain't on Michelangelo, but he's the Pope. So he says, I'll do it. So the first thing they have to do is they have to build a scaffold to go up 68 feet and then be able to move. So they bring in the architect. And he starts to put a scaffold up. And he says, well, I'm going to put it up through the ceiling, kind of hole in the ceiling, stick this pole here, or stick it. Michelangelo goes, I said, wait a minute, you're going to put wooden poles and cut holes in the ceiling. What do I do when I'm done? I take it down, I can't fix the holes? No. Get rid of it. He got the Pope to fire the guy. He said, I'll design it myself. So he gets the idea of how I do this. I will take above the windows and drill in and put a hole, and I'll attach this side of the scaffold to the window, so it keeps it. And then I'll just have the poles freestanding but attached. Beautiful. Boom, 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 boom. Designs the scaffold. Then he starts painting the Sistine Chapel as he would paint as a fresco. Now, if you don't know what fresco painting is, it's just not painting on the wall. You have to take the wall, you have to clean it, and then you have to mix and put plaster on there. And the plaster has to be a certain plaster made of a certain pumice, and then mixed to the consistency of toothpaste. And then applied, smoothed out, and painted while wet.
Oh.
So you have to have somebody who can paint, do a good job. I mean, not like it's not going to dry, but you cannot have it dry. So he takes, if you take the top, right here, top, he starts on those panels at the very top. And he paints in there a scene from one of the apostles. He's not happy, right? He's painting what the Pope wants. And then they're done that, and he gets home. A week or 2 days later, there's fireworks all over the thing. He goes nuts.
I'm sorry, what was
It's a
that?
virus.
What?
And there's a virus that hit it. And there's all spots over it. He fires all his work. You're fired. And he has to go out there. He chips it all away. Cleans it all off. And decides, I'm not going to paint what he wants. I'm going to make my own painting. So if you look, these are really scenes from the Bible. The creation of Adam, the temptation of Eve, the creation of Eve. So the Pope doesn't know this is going on. So he only puts kind of one up by himself. He uses the plaster up, plastic, paints it. Good question. So he talks to the Pope, and the Pope said, that's not a bad idea. You can do this. So Michelangelo paints the ceiling as he wishes it painted, his theme. And Julius reluctantly looks and said, it's a better idea than that. Now you're talking 5,000 square feet of painting and moving the I couldn't think of the name. Senior moment. Moving the scaffolding and yoga. Now, he would have guys maybe mixing some stuff, but nobody came up on the top of the scaffolding. He would not allow anybody up there to see his work, ever. Julius would come up occasionally, but he's an old man. He would find, and everybody thinks that Michelangelo painted sitting on his back, but you saw the movie did. He painted it standing up. He did not sit on his back. He painted it, put it on, and he painted it after painting it for a while, he starts complaining. I got a goiter. This damn thing's painted. Look at me, I got a goiter. So he was complaining he had a goiter, which is an inflammation of the thyroid gland. And he's really bitching him. No, Mikey, it ain't a goiter. It's you're doing this for every day for 40 years. Your neck muscles are improved. So where you stop doing that, I'll get out of here. Every time we saw anybody, he'd say, I got a goiter, I got a goiter. No, this is what he painted. And it has been cleaned 3 times in its history. It was cleaned once in 1710. I love this. With sponges dipped in French wine. Why French wine? I have no idea. But they take a sponge and they dab it clean. Did it get it clean? I don't know. But it didn't bring the colors back. But it got, if you know anything about the Catholic religion, we're great for candles and incense. And that's going up. So they do that. And then they clean it again. They cleaned it again in, I think, 1936. And they use water and bread. They moisten bread up, and they wouldn't clean, we're just taking the surface off. And then, when was it? In the last couple of centuries, or the last 20 years, they redid and cleaned the Sistine Chapel. It took them 19 years to clean it. And the reason it took them, people thought it was a sign. Oh, you're going to ruin the paint. They had to do. The Pope said paint, but the public and other cardinals, it was a pain in the neck to get it done. And they brought in the best people in the world, and they did it millimeter by millimeter. So if you take a look at the next page, you can kind of get. That's the Pope going up to What? Oh, I got him in today. That's the Pope going up. That's just a picture to have the thing. Okay, I'm going to just go. All right. Now take out the big picture.
Thank you.
My wife said it's really long.
That's the photo.
Yeah.
This is the Sistine Chapel. Before it was cleaned. Yeah, I know, but sure. And if you take a look, Michelangelo took off for about 6 months, didn't loiter and other things. And if you look, if you come back and you look at this, starting over here to here where he finished it, look in the middle of it and to the right, and you'll see the figures are bigger than the ones on the left. You notice that the figures are a little bigger? Well, what Michelangelo did, he got away from it for a while. He came in and he looked out and, you know what? Yeah, I'll paint them bigger. So he painted them bigger. So this is before the chapel was reclaimed recently, because the picture in my big book didn't have that. And I put, this is 3 put together. So I just wanted to show you that this is the entire Sistine Chapel as it was painted by Michelangelo. Okay, next page.
Ed,
Yes.
is there any information on what order they were painted, or did they?
Yeah, no, he did it east, west to east. No, he went right down this road. That's why the second half of it large. He just did it across it. Because that's how he had to set the scaffold. He could set the scaffold up to go across back and forth. The next painting is the center panel, and this is God creating Adam. This is the painting that made Michelangelo in the 15th century, according to everybody, the greatest artist in the world. He was Da Vinci's name. And to see it, it is absolutely magnificent. Now, I did something here, as Marla would say. Oh, I didn't finish one thing. If you turn the next page, it's not very clear, but Julius wanted him to paint a painting above the altar called the Last Judgment. Okay. And he did this when he was 66 years old. So he did this years later on another pope. And during this period, there was a bishop who was the Pope's master of ceremony. Big job. He's not like Michelangelo because he painted people nude. And he just drove Mike. Hey, you can see his little thing and you can see her breath. Michael, you can write. Michael told him to stick, basically. So at the very bottom of this painting, if you turn the next page, at the very bottom, see the devil? That's the bishop. He painted the bishop as the devil who was hearing, according to what the people were telling him. It was the devil's helper saying, you committed what sins? You go to level 6. It's not. So this drove this bishop nuts till the day he died, because he was in that chapel every day of his life. And you know, you can't go in and not look at you, son of a. So he got even, and it was never changed. Although, during its time, 100 years later, they hired an artist to paint the private parts with draperies. And they called him, later on became known as the pants artist. So. Okay, this is how the Sistine Chapel looks today. Another great picture of finished. It's finished. You can see how bright it is. And then the next painting is just a painting I tried to get out back when it was clean. You can see the colors coming apart. Turn to the next page. You see a woman. See the woman? Turn back. This woman right here. Okay, that part of the right, as Myrna said, is what it looked like before it was clean, and then that's the colors of it.
Wow.
And they came up with colors that they didn't believe existed. They never, I mean, she didn't look like she had a gown on. It's two colors. And this is the whole thing's like this. So I only took this one picture because otherwise the book would have been forever. But the next picture is a poor one, but it's now the color of the Sistine Chapel. You see how bright it is? I spent half an hour last time I was there against the wall because people go through. Hey Mabel, look at this. There's a guy in the office saying, this is a chapel. I just stood there and just went along the wall and looked. Because people go through like, isn't that wonderful? They don't really see the beauty.
Who mixed his paint?
He mixed his paint himself. Even when he was painting and he would have assistants, after he fired everybody, no, before he even fired, he already had them plastered. He mixed the colors, he came up with new colors. He never bought that. He would buy the paint. He didn't go buy a tube. He would mix his own paint at the top of the scaffold. And he actually, when mixing them out, fell off the scaffold. Luckily, it may have been divine intervention here. Who knows? Because Joan didn't have anything to do with this one. Maybe this is a divine intervention. He fell down and really should have been really hurt. Now Michelangelo, at this point of his life, never bathed, never changed his clothes.
Forever?
Ever?
He would change his clothes when he couldn't. No, he didn't change. He didn't change his clothes. When he fell off the scaffold, they had to cut his boots off. And if you know Italian leather, it's not like it's really fine. They had cut the boots off, and the boots had stuck to the skin. He was filthy. He could not keep servants. The reason he couldn't keep servants is because he lived in clutter, and they couldn't. You can't. Oh, you touched my mallet. You know. Oh God. So he would have servants, but he lived like a hermit. And he really, when he died in Rome, they had to cut all his clothes off him. I mean, you clean the body. You know what I mean? They had we can't get the pants. They had to cut them off. Now people think he complained living like a pulp. He had more money put away, more florins put away, more things that you can think of put away. And I'm going to show you before I close both his home in Rome and his home in Florence. You'll see how long he lived. Okay, I am going to move. Turn to the next page, and it's his last major work for his patron. It's the tomb of Julius II, who he was going to build the main one. And this tomb was built not in the Vatican, but in the church where he was a cardinal. And the main theme of that is Moses. Moses, of all his works of art, was his personal favorite. That's the next picture. When he finished this picture, he took a hammer to it, smashed it against his leg, and said, "Speak." He just loved this painting. He thought personally that this was the best painting. Now, if you look, you see the picture of Moses, the last one, just in here. Looks like he has horns, right? Mm-hmm. That's his. He went up to Mount Sinai, a young man, came down with the tablets, an older man. And supposedly, the story has when Moses came down from the mountain, he had just talked to God. And he would have an expression on his face that the people would not be able to look I can't take that, so I'll put a little thing here, which is a Latin for, and I forget the word, a big, it's not horns, it means difference to beauty and talking to me. And that's the face of Moses. But anyway, I've taken all my notes, kind of cut it down to only, was it like 2 hours?
Good job.
Yeah.